This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. It's so great to have you joining me here in these online lessons. This is lesson 43 in this series that is all about jazz guitar. As you know, I love jazz guitar. I work as a jazz guitarist. I'm a jazz recording artist. So I love jazz guitar. So delighted to bring this course to you along with all the other courses on the channel. So in this lesson, we're looking at rootless voicings for the dominant 7th chord. And that's a dominant 7th chord that's not altered. We'll worry about altered dominant chords later. Now, as I've explained in previous lessons, there's no such thing as a rootless chord, but there are rootless voicings that we can situate over the top of some root being played somewhere else. So if a bass player is playing the bass line, that's going to include a lot of roots, and we can situate rootless voicings and a comping of the chords context over top of that. Or like when we're doing solo jazz guitar, I have a solo jazz guitar album, Musician, all solo jazz guitar. I use rootless voicings throughout that album, but when I do, I've established that sound of that root. So a collection of pitches can sit over top of different roots and create a different type of chord. So there's no such thing as a rootless chord because it gives us the context for everything, but there are rootless voicings. And so we worked on major 7th and major 6/9 voicings in the last lesson. Now we're going to work on these rootless voicings for the dominant 7th chord. And all of these chords come out of the formula that was taught in lesson 33. So we've been doing a lot of different types of chords that are so commonly used by jazz guitarists, but the formula for creating those voicings was explained or is explained in lesson 33. So you can check that out if you haven't before. But let's go ahead and take a look at these voicings here. Now, I have situated up on the board a little parentheses around where the root would be if we were playing it. It really helps mentally to keep track of where that low root would be, either on the 6th string or the 5th string, as we have to find the context to place these pitches in. So knowing where that root is mentally can really help us find those. Then we're going to have those guide tones on the inside 2 strings as we do. So we're going to have the flatted 7th and the 3rd here with the 6th string form, or the 5th string form, we got the 3rd and the flatted 7th. Then we are going to always have the 9th in the chord, and that's for this one, that's on the high string. If we didn't have the 9th, we'd have to have the root, and we're not playing chords with the root at this point. We're enjoying that 9th color instead because it colors up our voicing so much more than the root would. Then on this set, the 5th string form, we've got that 9th on that 2nd string. So we're going to always have the 9th. Against that, we have 3 different options. So we've got the sharp 11 as an option. For dominant 7th chords, we've got the natural 5, and then we have the 13th. So we've got all of those there. And then over here on the top string, we have that sharp 11, 5th, and 13th. So 3 different options we can have with each one of those. Let's go ahead and take a look at this first one. We'll start with the 5th. So if I was going to play a 9th chord that I had learned previously, I would have to mute that 2nd string because I don't have the fingers to get the 5th down. But I'm not going to be playing the root anymore, so I'm going to just go ahead and bar. I like to bar that fret, and for C, I'm barring at the 8th fret, and then my middle finger and my ring or my pinky, either one could play that 9th, and I get that dominant 9th chord. Isn't that cool? Sitting across that root. So rootless dominant 9th voicing there. Once you learn the 6th string form, you want to learn the 5th string form, so I've got it over here. With this one, I just bar, I play my index finger and then bar across those top 3 strings. So you want to get used to going back and forth. I should have played the root, so that one's an F9 there when I do that. And in that case, my index is at the 7th fret, my ring finger is then barring across the other strings at the 8th fret. So we want to get used to going back and forth between those 2 voicings because we're going to go around the circle of force. It's a common thing we do in these lessons. Happens a lot in music we play as well. So you want to get used to going back and forth between C and F. And then we're going to take it around the circle of force. So the circle of force is something we've used a lot in the series, so I don't go over it much, but I do have it up here on the board as far as the root movement goes. And we know that we got C at that 8th fret, F, go down 2 frets for B flat and E flat, down 2 frets for A flat and D flat, come up to G flat at that 9th fret on the 5th string, and then go down 2 frets for B and E, A and D, down 2 frets, G and C. So if I take this around, then I'm going to move around as if I was playing where those roots are, but I'm not actually playing those roots, I'm just playing these rootless voicings, taking it around that circle of fourths. You want to get, so you can do that. And then to hear these in context, I have a backing track for us that just has a bass line. So we can comp these chords on top of the bass line, get used to that sound, get used to what that sounds like. So we're going to have 4 bars per chord. Rhythmically, just like the last lesson, you can just do some simple things. We're going to have a lesson later on comping rhythms and more ideas on how you can do the swing comping, that real pianistic style. But right now we're just worried about getting some voicings down. So you got that basic do dot we've done, or do dot dot, or I could make little variations off those 2 things. Dot da, where I just took and didn't, instead of do dot dot, I went rest dot da and I held it long. So you can just create some variations. You can just stick to the do dot if you want to, just like that. We're going to take it around this bass line. We're going to take it around with this backing track on the bass line. Here in this lesson, you can practice right along with me, which hopefully is really valuable. But this backing track, like all the backing tracks created for this lesson series, are also available on the Jazz Jam Along backing track playlist, which is on the channel, and down in the description below. There are links where you can just click on it and it'll pop up. It's its own video, and you can practice along with the bass line without me playing over the top as much as you'd like to. So that's available for you. There's a link in the description below, or find the Jazz Jam Along backing track playlist. So we're going to get 6 counts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the hi-hat. There's 2 beats of rest, and then it'll be in with that bass line, and we'll just start comping over the top of that with these voicings going around the circle of fourths. So it's going to be great. Let's do it. C. Now F. B flat. E flat. A flat. And D flat. And G flat. B. And E. And D. And G. And C. Okay, awesome. Aren't these great sounds? I love these chords. Let's take a look now at having the 13th in the chord instead of the 5th. So for this 6-string form, I'm going to have index, middle, and then ring and pinky, or I could bar over the top 2 strings if I want. My 13th is up there. So for C, I'm sticking my index finger at that 8th fret. So we want to get used to that voicing. And then for the 5th string form, I've got just like what I was playing before with the 5th only, and now I need to reach up with my ring finger and capture this 13th on top instead of having that 5th. So I'm still barring because I've got the two notes. Now you could play index, middle, ring, and pinky if you wanted to. You could voice it that way. I'm really used to doing that bar, so I usually just do the bar still. But either way, once you got that down, that one of course is for F. So you can kind of hear that in context. You want to get used to going back and forth between those two forms. Just get comfortable there. And then you may want to take a look at taking that around that circle of force. Just moving it right on down through those chords. Back up for G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and C. Just like that. And we'll take that and play that over a backing track. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got that C13 and F, B flat, E flat, Okay, awesome. I love the sound of these chords. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the sharp 11 sound. This is a higher tension sound. It can be a harsher sound for our ears to appreciate depending on what kind of music we've been exposed to, but it is one that we play in a lot more of the contemporary jazz. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So the sharp 11 sits right below that 5. Alternatively, we could be using these same voicings if we had an altered dominant that had a flat 5. So that sharp 11 and flat 5 are interchangeable in that way. But we're not worried about altered dominants at the moment because we actually use the sharp 11 sound as well in a non-altered dominant setting, and we're going to worry about altered dominant chords later in a different lesson. So, but we got that sharp 11. So you want to go ahead. I'm going to stick my index finger, and I have to sort of see that my index finger is going to be 1 fret lower than where the low root would be, and I go ahead, put my index there, then my middle, ring, and pinky up on the 9th. So we'd have that dominant 7 sharp 11 sound there. Once you got that one down, you want to take a look at the other one. With the other one, I just go ahead and bar across on that fret with the 3rd, so 1 fret lower than the root, and then stick my other 2 fingers, middle, and ring right inside of there. And you just want to get used to going back and forth between the two. I should play this one in the context over the root, so you get that F7 sharp 11 or F9 sharp 11 sound. So I can go back and forth between those two. Just get comfortable with that. When I lived on my own when I was doing my master's degree at Indiana University a long time ago, I had my own studio apartment, and so there were a lot of times that after a long day I would just put on a TV show or a movie, and I would just practice going back and forth between voicings. But when you have family or you're living with friends or whoever, they don't always appreciate that, so I don't get to do that very much anymore. But when I was younger, I did. It was kind of nice. But it can be really helpful to just go back and forth between voicings like that. Then of course you can practice just going around that circle of 4ths with those, getting comfortable with that. Takes a little bit of getting used to. And we'll take that one right over top of our backing track. So we got C. B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Okay, super fun. Those sharp 11 sounds have a lot of tension, but we use those chords from time to time. Now, we also sometimes with dominant 7th chords actually play suspended dominant 7th chords. So dominant sus chords. And these can be voiced with the 9th and the 13th as well. Of course, the 11th would be the same pitch, so we wouldn't be doubling up on that. But we can throw the 9th and or the 13th in there. And we can play these in a rootless context. So let's take a look at it, because when we're playing Rootless Voicings in a more contemporary style, this is a place where we often run into having a dominant chord with a suspension. So the dominant chord with a suspension is where the 3rd is replaced with the 4th. And so I have that up here. I've gone ahead and put it in parentheses and shown us right above that 3rd, 1 fret above it, we have the 4th. And so for both of those voicings, we've got that. So to create a dominant sus chord, I could take my dominant 9th with the 5th, for example, and then I'm just going to play that 1 fret higher. So in C, I've got my index finger barring across at that 8th fret, and then those other 2 fingers there playing with my ring and pinky. So I've got the 9th across that there, which is super nice. It's a nice dominant sus with the 9th in it. For the other form, you can just bar all the way across the 8th fret when we're in F there, which is pretty cool. So you could take that back and forth, pretty easy. Get used to going back and forth there. And then take that around the circle of 4s, you get used to that. And we'll go ahead and take that one across our backing track. So we got the C. And F. B flat. A Great, great sounds. Love these suspended chords. Now I can of course add the 13th in place of the 5th. So with that one, my index finger is going to be at that 8th fret for C, and then my ring finger can just bar across those top 3 strings there, 2 frets higher, so the 10th fret, and I get that C13 sus. With the other voicing, I can continue to bar across all those strings, top 4 strings, and then use my pinky or my ring finger to reach 2 frets higher. And so for F, I'm barring at that 8th fret and reaching with my pinky 2 frets higher at the 10th fret. Right there. So going back and forth between the 2 forms, you could get used to that. And then you could take it around the circle of 4. So we have the C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and then G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and C, just like that. So let's go ahead and play that over the backing track. There was C, now F. And B flat. And E flat. And A flat. And D flat. And G flat. And B, and E, and A, and D, and G, and C, okay, super cool. I love those suspended voicings. Now with that particular bass line, which was played with just regular dominant 7th chords, not suspended chords in mind, sometimes it wasn't my favorite sound having those voicings over the top of that, but it's alright. It gets you a chance to practice it as well. That backing track though, which is especially purposeful for playing the voicings where we have that major 3rd, so just our regular dominant 7th chords with the sharp 11, the natural 5 or the 13th thrown in against that 9th with our guide tones here. That backing track that we've been using throughout the lesson is available for you to practice with if you'd like to without me playing over the top. And so down in the description below, there's a link. You can click on that and it'll pull up a video where it's just that backing track, so you can play along with that as much as you'd like to. It's also, you can also find it in the Jazz Jam Along backing track playlist on the channel, where we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lessons. So this channel has over 900 lessons, so you can check those out. Of course, the jazz lessons are coming out every Mondays, Wednesdays, sometimes on Fridays as well. And in the next jazz lesson, we're going to be working with the minor 7th chords. So we'll be doing this Rootless Voicings with the minor 7th chords, and the one after that, we'll be putting them together, the major, minor, and dominant 7th voicings into 2-5-1s. So great things that we'll be doing ahead as we continue here. We've also got Technique Tuesday lessons, Theory Thursday lessons. So lessons coming out on those days. And on Saturdays right now, there's a course we're working on improvising in the pop, rock, and blues style. So lots of great things happening on the channel. You can keep checking out these lessons. Keep having fun. Take care, and we'll see you again. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more in-depth lessons and to progress through a free guitar course, check out my Guitar 101 series on YouTube and my guitar method books, which all come with access to hours of in-depth video lessons. You can find more information about me and my products at KristenBromley.com. Take care.